for this opportunity. Let me thank the EPA and the organizers of the consultation. The theme, a happy planet for the prosperity of all, our responsibility and our opportunity. I think you turn to the religious leaders for the opportunity. We have all sectors, all levels, all age groups in our communities. In Liberia, the two dominant religions are Christianity and Islam. So you're going to be effective in whatever you do, you need to turn to us. We can help to spread a message. We can help to create awareness. Professor Tata talk about awareness, and he talk about action. Those can be done through the churches and the mosques in Liberia. They are all over the country. We are everywhere. We are represented. So you work with us very closely. We can achieve so much more. We need clear, simple information to pass on to our people through our Sunday schools or schools. So many things we can do together to create awareness and help our people to do what is right. Let me also remind us that the Bible talks about preserving the earth. In Genesis 2:15, says God put man in order to take care of the earth. To care for. So it's our responsibility to take care of the earth. If not, we all will be in trouble. When we don't act, or we do the wrong things, we all stand at the receiving end of our ugly actions. So we all need to act to preserve the environment, or we all will be indeed in trouble. This is a one of for me. Let us all talk together and see how we can help to take basic actions. Maybe in the homes, take care of any just our homes and our gardens. And how we do things, we need to be aware and we need to work fast to save our planet and to save all of us. Thank you. I don't have much to say. God bless you.
Another strong one. Simple messages for the religious community to be able to articulate to everyone. As the conscience of the nation, it is important, it's imperative for us to ensure that the EPA message with other partners has to be concise, simple, and behavioral change is important. It starts from the homes, it starts from the communities, it starts from the religious sites. Thank you so much, Bishop. It's always a pleasure listening to you. You also stress the need for us to be mindful of our responsibility when God created the earth. So thank you so much. Mr. Mohammed Kamara, representing the youth, from your perspective, how do we implement tangible actions to achieve a healthy planet for the prosperity of all?
Thank you so much. It is my distinct honor and privilege to speak on behalf of all of the students in the Republic of Liberia, that the Broad National Students Union, as made aware, is the umbrella institution responsible for students in Liberia and Liberian students studying abroad as well. And so today, this topic is very essential, reflecting on the urgent need for actions to achieve a healthy planet and prosperity for all. As we keep on striving for a great and healthy environment, we, the young people of Liberia, especially students, having endeavored to elevate and reaffirm our commitment in driving the cause for having a better environment and a healthy planet for us and generations to come. This is one of the reasons for me we see this national consultation as crucial and timely. As institution and as a National Students Union, our presentation today will cover the environmental state of our planet, causes of our healthy planet, why we need to act now, and ways we can contribute to save our planet. So because it is 5 minutes, we don't go in details, and we hope we can have questions in regards to some of the things we're going to talk about. In recent global assessment shows that planet presents our current planet is in danger, a healthy and poor environmental state. And these threats include but not limited to the emission of greenhouse gases, flooding, plastic pollution, deforestation, the destruction of mangroves, and also devastating diseases like malaria, HIV, and COVID-19. So, what are some of the causes of our healthy planet? We can clearly state here statistics in our possession that overpopulation is one of the reasons why we have a healthy planet. And a very practical example could be in the University of Liberia. When the University of Liberia was established in 1821, it was not meant for the number of persons we have today. So we have many issues because population has grown and the ability to fit the number of persons we have today is not available. And so we have land and soil degradation, which is caused also by poor farming practices. We also have water degradation caused by the dumping of trash and garbage in streams, river, and ocean. So if there's nothing we can learn from this national symposium, many a times we have used the word interchangeably, trash for garbage. But today, because of our setting, but because of the conversation, you have the internet, and if you go home, you can decide to check the difference between trash and garbage. Environmentally, they are distinction for that. We also have atmospheric degradation, which is caused by the burning of processed food. Also, lastly, for the causes of the healthy planet, we have the burning of fire, the carbon and burning of trees. So, what do we need to add now? So, from the perspective of the national student movement, we need to add now because we need to save our generation and generations after us. So, because the Labor National Students Union is an institution where we have 100% literate men and women, we argue before even this presentation, university students, high school students, we argue about the topic, and we have a lot of time, we were going to present for more than 10 minutes. But because we're told that we have 5 minutes, we got to cut down the presentation. So some of the major suggestions that we received and accepted will have simple ways we can contribute towards our healthy planet.
We have to wrap up now, sir.
Yeah, we have almost left.
Yeah.
Okay. So, we are completing the conclusion. So, for the above causes, we must take responsibility as young people that the state of our planet, we as humans, we are responsible for the current state.
Thank you so much.
Therefore, we must act now and act now. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Mr. Kamara. We will go directly to Madam Charlie Jala. From your perspective, achieving and accelerating actions to achieve a healthy planet. Representing the civil society organization SCNL, from your perspective, we would like to hear from you.
Okay, thank you so much. Charlie Jalapuma from the SCNL. And to go straight to the point, we first need to realize that the planet is a fundamental fabric of life. And if we don't take full responsibility of it, or if we don't make it a priority, we are never going to be healthy. And our behavior, what we do is actually what makes the planet healthy or unhealthy for us. And there are 3 points in our one point I want to probably especially the air we breathe. In order to have a clean environment or a healthy planet, we need to make sure that our behavior is geared toward having a clean air. And most of the diseases we are experiencing nowadays is because there are so much pollutants in the air. And we are inhaling all of these pollutants by the day, and they are causing environmental hazards or health problems or health issues for us. And there are so many causes of polluted air. And some of them are the respiration that we take in, the burning dirt in our various environments, causes pollutants in the air. And once we are inhaling those pollutants, it becomes unhealthy for us. And especially in Monrovia now, those routes or routes that are carried on construction, we realize that there are a lot of dust in the air, and people travel that route, or those routes are inhaling those dirt or those pollutants, and it's causing more harm. So quickly to some of the reasons, some of the ways in which we can keep our air clean in order for us to have a healthy planet is to be more energy efficient. We should do away with anything that will cause more harm or pressure to the air and the environment. We should go more towards solar panel, solar energy. That's going to help us to filter the air. And also we should go also for things that reusable items and recycling. That's going to help us to at least reduce the pressure on the environment. And we also need to make sure that we manage our waste properly, especially from our homes. We realize that most times people take rubbish or garbage from their homes and put it in the street, and we depend on the government to help us clean the street. No, we need to be cognizant of the fact that our health is dependent on what we do to the environment is going to come back to us. So we shouldn't wait for people to tell us to be clean, to clean the air for us. We ourselves can manage our waste from our homes and make sure that we not pollute the environment, because it will come back to us with negative impact. And one other thing we should try to do to reduce the pollution of the air is planting trees. We should do more of planting trees because it helps to filter the air, it helps to filter the energy, the air we breathe. So once we have trees planted in our environment, instead of cutting them down, they're going to help us to have a clean environment. And we want to be healthy, but we want to take on the responsibility of making ourselves healthy. We can be cleaning our homes and then we expect the street to be dirty and still think that we are going to be healthy. Most times I tell people, if you see the street dirty and you don't clean it, you think that because your home is clean and you are clean, that's not it. Because the flies that sit on the dirt or the air, the pollution in the air is not deciding who to go to. It's not saying because this person is clean, so they will need to hear the bad odor, you are also going to be affected. So if you see it, you should be able to make sure that you put mechanism in place to help it to be clean. And we need to be more action-oriented than just talking. There are so many times we talk and nothing is being done. So we should learn here towards taking action and that starts with us. Change begins with self, with you. So once we take on the change, other people will see and follow the first step. Thank you.
Is this mic on? Can somebody please put a mic on? Thank you so much. That was on the dot. Exactly, and that's just what we want. Succinct and straightforward. Thank you so much, Madam Charlie Jala Freeman. Mr. Pierre E.K. Flomo, you represent a group of people that have a perspective, people living with disability, and how they react and how they respond to environmental and social challenges. We'd like to know, from your point of view, how do you think we can facilitate actions that will help us to create a healthy planet for the prosperity of all? We have 5 minutes.
Thank you very much. I appreciate the time given, but for accessibility, I hope you can help with 2 or 3 minutes ahead. As you already know, persons with disabilities have been excluded in so many ways when it comes to issues that matter to human health, but nevertheless we are here to speak on issues that matter. All protocol observed. The United Nations Conference on the Environment Health in Stockholm on June 2nd to the 3rd in 1972, which created the United Nations Environment Program, UNEP, was the first world conference to make the environment a priority. And thankfully, we are celebrating 50 years of existence and what it has achieved. The UNCRPD, known as the United Nations Convention on the Rights of Persons with Disabilities, Preamble Section E states, recognizing that disabilities is an evolving concept and that disability results from the interaction between persons with impairment and attitudinal and environmental barriers that hinder their full and effective participation in society on an equal basis with others. Therefore, a disabled can only survive in an environmentally friendly society. For example, the issue of flood is often caused by we, the inhabitant, or the habit because of dumping waste product in drainages and building on water way. Now, how do we escape visually impaired and physically challenged to move in such a surrounding thus resulting exclusion in society? Therefore, the protection of the environment is everyone's business, whether disabled or in every country, continent, and the world as well, because failure to do so will not just damage a set of people, but affect every living thing, for we are all connected by one earth. There is urgency for action to achieve a healthy and prosperous planet for all. Even though the Stockholm Declaration created 26 general principles, which further there will not exist any environmental problem. But the question is, why do we still face these problems? Well, what do I mean by that? Looking at 4 points of the 26 general principles, which states: 1. Damage, oceanic pollution must be prevented. Here in our country, we still defecate on beaches and pools filled into the ocean. How can we prevent oceanic pollution when we are the culprit? 2. Natural resources must be safeguarded. We cut down trees to make charcoal, furniture, and even farms without planting another one. Likewise, our diamond, gold, mineral, etc., without caring about reserves. How then our natural resources be safeguarded? Number 4, pollution must not excel the environment's capacity to clean itself. We store our waste products on streets, marketplaces, and even swamp. At the end of the day, we expect a clean and healthy environment. We lack collaborate and discipline to, we lack collaboration and discipline to control the waste of our environment. So, how can we stop pollution from exceeding the environment ability to clean itself? Human settlement must be planned to eliminate environmental problems. This is a serious problem for us, Liberia, because we have the tendency of building at the wrong places, like alley, waterway, on beaches, on bridges, and overcrowded areas. It is the matter of must. We stand up having one mind to protect our environment and create a different approach toward handling the affairs of our surroundings. Human activities is the major reason for endangerment and the species within. In conclusion, we have a slogan in the disability community that says, there is nothing about us without us. Disability does not mean inability. However, I say to you, there is nothing about the habitat without the inhabitant. As we celebrate Stockholm +50, let us work harder together than before to have a safe and healthy planet. Ladies and gentlemen, this is amazing. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. There's nothing about us.
Thank you, moderator. Good morning, everyone. And I'm so glad I was here to hear that, remark from Peter, but also the remarks before from the young lady. I think this was just absolutely powerful. Let me first start by thanking the EPA and my dear brother, Prof. Carpe, and his team for convening this dialogue, but also all partners, the government of Sweden and my broader UN colleagues for supporting this event. Of course, I'm extremely happy to see all of you here today. I mean, this wouldn't be meaningful if you weren't part of it and contributing your ideas. So I'm not going to make a speech. In fact, I just wanted to chat with you just a little this morning. On Saturday, I went for the first time to the National Museum of Liberia. And I don't know how many of you have been there. Can I see the hands of those of you who have been to the museum? Okay, that's good. If you haven't been as yet, please go. The museum is rich with Liberia's history and its cultural artifacts. Some of the masks are a bit scary, but it's beautiful to see what the history of Liberia was like and how people lived 200 years ago, 100 years ago, and so on. I say this because your history and your culture is part of who you are as a people, and it's part of your wealth as a people. It's part of your richness as a people. And so is your natural environment and your natural resources. It's part of your wealth as a people. Now, you've heard, Liberia has one of the largest forests in this part of the world. People refer to it as, the lungs of the earth, because it gives us air to breathe. You have this here in Liberia. You have wetlands, you have mangroves. Your seas have an abundance of fish and lobsters. Every week, I buy from a couple of fishermen. They call me on Monday, do you need fish, do you need lobster, do you need shrimps? All of this is part of their natural resources as a country. When you go into your forests, you see some of the rarest species of plants and animals anywhere in the world. Some of these you won't find anywhere else, but it's here in Liberia. It's part of your wealth as a people. It's part of what makes Liberia special. Now, a lot of what you have is being threatened. Some of it, as you heard from Peter, is by activities we, as citizens here in the country, are doing. Activities of people in the country. Some of it is because of what's happening across the globe. Now let me ask you, for instance, what percentage of the world's species of birds and mammals and reptiles have we lost since 1970? What percentage of the world's species of birds, of fishes, of mammals, of reptiles have we lost since 1970. Who knows the answer to that? Anyone wants to make a guess? We have lost a lot of our species, birds, mammals, reptiles, fishes, since 1970. The answer is 68%. 68% since 1970. And every year it continues. So in some countries, species that you used to see, you will no longer see. And the same, it's a risk here for Liberia as well. If you look at desertification, the rate at which the land is being degraded and turned into desert, a dry surface, is happening now 30 times faster than it used to happen 30, 40 years ago. 30 times faster. If we look at hurricanes and natural disasters, I tell people all the time, when I was growing up in the Caribbean as a boy in Jamaica, we used to talk about the big storms, the big hurricanes. They came once every 20, 30 years. Now it's every year. There's a massive disaster. Go and research it. Some of our islands in the Caribbean were completely destroyed 3 years ago with the last major hurricane. Sea level rise. I've been to the Pacific. I've seen countries like Samoa and Vanuatu that are almost completely covered by the sea. I've been to West Point and New Town and the stretch out by Libasa and Buchanan. The sea is coming in every single year, and it's taking over people's homes and their property. If you look at the plastic pollution, it's bad here in Liberia, but it's bad in so many parts of the world. People are projecting that maybe in another 20 years, you'll have more plastic in the sea than you'll have fish in the sea. These things are happening. So I'm saying this to you because it almost appears to me that we, as a human species, are choosing to become extinct in the next 50, 60, 100 years by the choices we're making today. We're choosing to lose our species, we're choosing to do things that warm our planet, that causes the sea level to rise, that will invariably create greater desertification, greater floods, greater droughts, greater hurricanes. We're choosing to make these things happen. And so I was very happy again to hear from these young people, because they didn't make broad speeches. They talked about things that we can do and things that we must do to change that. And that's what I want to hear from you today. I didn't want to come and talk about conferences and conventions. I want to listen to you and your ideas, because we do need to do things. And we already talk about planting trees. We need to move into more recycling. We need to stop the plastic pollution, clean up, like clean up the global community. We need to do more solar energy. There are many things that we need to do. You have ideas, and I want to hear them. We want to hear them. So my commitment is, we want to hear from you what those great ideas are. And then we will sit with Prof. Tarpe, with the other UN agencies, with Sweden, with the EU, and we'll have to put together the kinds of programs that can help Liberia to better protect its natural resources and the wealth of this country. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Mr. Williams. Prof. Tapia, stand back, yourself, and
Thank you very much. Thank you very much to our partners, our friends, for the discussion. We preferred to have been the last because as policymakers and as the institution responsible for the management of the environment, we want to listen. And so we are happy about what we've heard. The topic is urgent action. Yes, the actions that are needed must be purposeful, they must be deliberate, and they must be put in place. But the actions are not necessarily to say it is the responsibility of the government alone. Individual actions have been taken. For instance, we've heard, and like the police said, especially Steve from UNDP said, Steve, excuse me if I can tell you, Steve, that's what I know as a friend. This country is blessed. We are blessed in terms of what we have natural endowment. We talk about forest cover. I'm one of those who got converted because I didn't even know what it was. But we have 3 forest regions responsible for the breathing of the world. The Amazon, the Congo Basin, and the Upper Guinea Forest. Liberia, the Congo Guinea, the Upper Guinea Forest spans from somewhere around eastern Guinea-Bissau to western Nigeria. And 16 countries are about that around there. Liberia owns at least 40% of that cover. And that is massive. That is very massive. 2, we have one of the most original rainforests in the world. We provide rain for as far as the Sahara because of the forest. But is that all? No. We need to do more. So for us here in Liberia, individually and as a government, as an institution responsible for the management of the environment, we have taken steps to ensure that we can put in place actions, but we need your support. For instance, plastics. Plastic waste. Liberia signed on to the ban of plastic in Nairobi 2 months ago. And that means we will at some point in time as a country ban the use of plastic. Not just any plastic, we call it single-use plastics. There's the bottle that you drink the water from, the sack that you drink the water from. We must be able to ban. But banning it does not mean that it cannot have use. While that is being done, we have to be able to encourage industry to recycle. And this is where the private sector is needed. Because if we must have institutions that want to use plastic as a business to recycle it, then they must be able to provide or get assistance from financial institutions that will be able to support it. It's not free money. We do not subscribe to that. This is a private sector driven economy. We must allow and encourage the private sector to do it. For instance, we have few young Liberians and other people here who are recycling plastic into fuel and gasoline. I have seen it. And some into geometry sets. We also know that there is a firm here that is recycling, turning plastic waste into pellets and exporting. Again, as it takes the United Nations Development Program, and I understand the EU is also supporting a similar program. We need to sit to see how we can consolidate that, harmonize it, and be able to strategize as partners to be able to redirect that kind of intervention so it can have an optimal effect. That's the issue of plastic. Plastic, thanks to the Swedish government, 2 weekends ago, we were in the cabinet and so the cabinet committee, cabinet hospital committee, and the social committee also cleaning the beach. What do we have? Plastic. Now, our people in these communities must be involved. But again, it comes to a matter of resources for everyone. Again, I would say through the Swedish government, the UN did all our part to provide a feedback and people do that. We will continue to urge communities to do that. requires support to do that, and we are determined, all of us as a government and with our partners, to be able to do it. But these things will be done in a sustainable way, and our people themselves will take ownership of it so that it can be able to sustain itself. On the part of the EPA, I want to assure you we will continue to work with them. Let me see all my staff. These good men and women, EPA, please stand up. Please stand up. All EPA employees, please stand up. If you are not here, that's fine. But if you are here, please stand up. Ladies and gentlemen, these are the people who are trying to be there and institutions in the way where the issue of the environment can be considered as very significant, and they are making all the efforts to do it. What are the other efforts that we are making? The other efforts we are making is to work with our partners, to be able to work with our nationally determined contributions. We submitted the document 490.5 with the support of our partners, again, UNDP, EU, the United Nations, the Swedish government, all of our partners. We submitted it to the UNCC, as we said. That document has been approved, and funding is now being sought to be able to fund that. We also submitted for the first time an implementation unit, because we do not want a NDC to just be a document. There must be a unit in the EPA, properly staffed, that can implement it religiously and in a way where if there is a problem, we must be able to correct it. Because we don't want a document that will sit on the shelf and accumulate costs. So those are some of the parts that we are supporting. Our people, ourselves, must be able to take the issue. Take the issue of the wetland. The EPA is very, 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 very robust on wetland. You know why? Because wetland provides 3 times the capacity for carbon sequestration. Wetland, we call it swamp. The swamp serves a major purpose. It absorbs water from the rivers around it. So that the river is full, the swamp absorbs it. When you backfill the swamp and you deprive it of that capacity to be reabsorptive, you disturb the ecosystem. You disturb not the biosphere, but the hemisphere, the lithosphere, all of that you disturb. I saw a video, I don't really want to scare people, where in a particular neighborhood, some African country, there was a massive destruction of the mangrove. A woman left a 2-year-old child with a 10-year-old brother and went out. Usually the father is going to work. When she came back, fortunately, there was a boa constrictor that was swallowing the baby. And where did it come from? The very strong the bathroom. Because it disturbed the ecosystem. We have to be able to stop it. In this country, if you look around the Monrovia Basin, that is coming from SKD Boulevard, all back there, people are constructed. We are determined to stop it, and we ask the neighborhood people to help us to do it. People say, oh, we want to do this, we got places to do. No, it is wrong. It disturbs the environment. And when it disturbs the environment, it affects our ability to live in a environmentally sustainable world. All of us have responsibility to do that. In the EPA, and again, thanks to our partners, all of them, we have also started a program. If I take the program, the reason is that we want to make sure that the most important target of our work remains the young people. Why? Because we constitute at least 60% of the population. For the last figure you saw from Lagos, at least 60% of our population is below the age of 35. And those are people who were born after 1985. Now, when the war started 5 years hence, these people were still kids. So if we can get our message to them, then we believe it can take traction. And that traction can be consolidated, and our message can take the necessary level of strength and enhancement and reinforcement so that our people, our young people, can take the issue of the environment seriously. This is why we work with the LITSU, we work with FLY. This is why, with the help of our mentor program at the University of Liberia. We intend to do that. When I see our young people sitting here from the various institutions in case of environmental science, I feel good about it. I feel good about it. And so, yes, that all the need for action. There are actions that are on board. You have the EPA, you have the government of Liberia taking responsibility to put in place the NTS, the National Biosafety policy, we put in place the EPA, all of the policies are in place. But we must continue to take the steps to make sure that they are fully implemented with delivery purpose. So we understood we got the need and the actions that will be there, but we have to bring in our people, the communities. We have to take some responsibility. That's what we continue to work on. Because we believe that if we do all of this, then we can attain the purpose of the Stockholm 50, which is now revised to 3 p.m. People, profit, and the planet. People in the environment, profit in the involvement of the private sector, and the planet, meaning a sustainable environment where we can all live in peace without disturbing our future and preserving the folk that will come after us. So, thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. You know, this is the interesting part about being a professor. Even if you change your career path, forever. Probably will enjoy everything you are saying over time, honestly. It shows that if you, regardless of your age, regardless of your stage, regardless of your station in life, if you choose to learn, if you choose to just discipline yourself, your entire life can change. It's amazing to see Professor Tapper talking about the environment like this when realistically, anytime I thought about Wilson Tapper was only about finance business.
Well, I'll tell you what, if you see me speaking like this, and if it sounds good, it means that in the EPA that little green bill, I've got the best minds to send what I want to do.
Put your hands together for him. Thank you so much. A good leader always gives his followers good praise. Thank you so much. At this time, we will entertain 2 questions from this side and from this side. One man, one woman. A pressing question.
Linda Picasso from the Stella Maris Polytechnic University. I want to know the significance of national determined contribution of Liberia in the climate fight.
And this is directed to Mr. Rodriguez.
And my concerns, has to do with the issue of mangrove. Right in Monrovia, where we have, let's say, the seat of the government, and you see EPA managing the mangrove, and you see land and mine surveyors surveying the mangrove for planting. I don't know whether what can really be done. Is that maybe disconnection that EPA is saying, stop, mangrove is protected, but then surveyors are surveying the mangrove for land and also for what? So I don't know what can really be done with 2 government institutions managing and other one is surveying.
Before I answer the question, let me just which is a fact. I go to EPA in October, first week I work. And my people from the multilateral environmental agreement department, they bring this very large volume to me. First, they were complaining, from the NBC, we have a difficulty with it. We don't know why it's taking long. We told the consultants, he said, but we need to discuss it with him. You know, the NBC, we have a difficulty. From where I come from in finance, NBC is not direct cost. So I said, come on, bring the document. We'll see how we can look at the budget, do the cash flow, do the forecast, and then we'll get the balance sheet to see the income statement to see what the fiscals are, and we can allocate. The gentleman next to me, he said, Prof, and I ill. I never said not directly. He said, no. The NDC is nationally determined contribution. I put my hand in the air and say, yeah, that's why I read it for him. So what is a nationally determined contribution? Under the Paris Agreement in 2015, countries that signed on to that, the Paris Agreement is the global agreement by countries around the world to protect the environment, to make sure it is sustainably managed. Each country, one of the major requirements of each country under that agreement is that you must submit to the United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change a national document that will show you those things that you will do to sustainably manage the environment. That is the NDC. Guys, am I right? I got it right now? Okay. Yes, and that it covers every sector: agriculture, transport, public works, health, land, and all 11 sectors we cover to see what can we do. In the case of agriculture, how can we save the forest from degradation, from cutting down forestry so that can remove the farmers downstream? Remove them downstream into the swamp, they can make the farm, but they will need technology, they will need resources to help them. Two things happen. In the swamp, you can repeat the farming cycle at least 2 times a year. Some people say 3. And the productivity is usually 2-3 times what you get. By doing that, not only do you get more productivity, you are able to preserve the tree, which does the celestial, the terrestrial or carbon sequestration. Again, I'm talking about what those people told me, and like they told me that I hope the terrestrial carbon sequestration means the tree should be in place, and you don't cut the tree down. Is that right here? All right. So, in the case of transport, vehicles, if you get in a vehicle and you are caught in the traffic here, after 15 minutes, you generally lose it. Because we have vehicles in the road that are old, and so when they use the fossil fuel, which is the fuel of the gas, it emits fuels that are not friendly to human health. Under the NPC, we want to make sure that there's a law. I know there's a law that was passed by this government, by this country, back in the 80s, right? That cars that are 10 years old or more cannot come in. But we have a law here, but we say a law it will come, except that we make it punitive. Now the reason making is that you can make it punitive because no amount of money can substitute for human life or harm to human life. So we have to be able to stay with that law. So the NDC cuts across, and that's why it is that document that we call the nationally determined contribution now. It has 2 segments. One, we call it the first one, the 2 times. The 2 times means the 2 people that can do it. The person is the 1% that the government will make the other where we have the international community.
Commissioner, interrupt, sir. I mean, because of time, I know you will not stop.
I will stop. I will stop. So that's why the NDC is the conditional and unconditional. The conditional means we ask the international community if you can give me 85% of this, I can do 50 to make it 100. Now the issue of the Monrovia product is a major problem we have here. We got 2 institutions. If you see, like you said, if we continue to do it better, we will continue to do our best. In our process also, we work with the land authority, but then we have road surveyors. Road surveyors are people who don't go and survey anything, but we are in discussion with them where if the surveyors have found some punitive action can be taken. Thank you.
Thank you so much.